Proxy pattern. Proxy pattern is pretty straightforward. Basically, you are going to use a surrogate or placeholder to use the real object. Okay, so that is sort of the intermediary proxy that controls the access to the other object. So in proxy pattern, an extra level of indirection is going to be added to support distributed, controlled, and intelligent access to real object. So when to use it? In fact, the proxy pattern has a different style. So let's take a look at each of these proxy pattern style. Types of proxy pattern. So virtual proxy, a placeholder for expensive to create object. So the real object is only created when the client first requests and access the object. So the client is not going to actually create this expensive object directly. Instead, it will actually talk to the proxy, and proxy will figure out whether that expensive object needs to be created at the time or not. So that's a virtual proxy. Remote proxy is when a particular client is in a particular VM is talking to another server, the object running on different JVM. You could use what is called the RMI, remote method invocation. So this is a way that Java can actually communicate with another object running on different JVM. It could be different machines. It could be a JVM running on a different machine, or it could be a JVM, separate JVM running on the same machine. So that is a proxy, a remote proxy. Protected proxy is performing for access control, so controls access to sensitive, the real object. So in this case, that surrogate or proxy object checks the caller, whether caller has in fact access permissions required prior to forwarding the request to the real object. Smart proxy actually does some extra work, so it interposes additional actions when an object is accessed. For example, you might want to have counter to be incremented every time an object is actually accessed. Okay, so smart proxy will increment the counter, and then it will pass the request to the real object. Loading persistent object into memory when it is first referenced. So persistent object, the accessing database physically is always expensive, so it might in fact actually save the data, save the actual data in memory, and that will be actually being accessed by the client if it is present. So different types of proxies. Participants, so basically the proxy and real object, they actually use the same interface. Okay, so subject interface is implemented by both proxy and real subject, and proxy is the one that references to real subject. So proxy will have real subject to be injected on setter method or constructor method. Okay, so let's see exercise 5. This is a proxy pattern. So proxy pattern is pretty straightforward. In fact, we are going to use a counter. So we have real subject. So both real subject implement iSubject interface. So iSubject interface is basically has these two methods: do something 1 and do something 2. This is the real subject. It has to implement. So this is the operation that will be performed by real subject. And then we also have a proxy class. Proxy object will also implement that iSubject interface. So in this case, proxy will implement iSubject interface, but it has a reference to real subject, and this real subject will be injected in this case through a constructor method. Okay. And so when do something method is being invoked by the client, it will do something extra. So do something extra is, in this case, we are just displaying some message. Okay, and then it is going to call the real subject method. Okay, so these two basically adding some extra operation, adding some extra features or whatever before it actually talks to real subject. And client doesn't know it is actually talking to proxy or not. Basically, in this case, this is going to be set up and these are the business logic. Business logic will actually just talk to the type of iSubject, right? And in this case, we actually using proxy object, but and this could be set during runtime, okay? And the business logic will just use this iSubject, and because it's actually referencing proxy object, it will actually do some extra, and then it will call the method of real subject. Okay, so pretty straightforward. And the homework. So homework is what we want to do is we want to create iGreeting interface which displays a greeting message. Okay, so you are going to create simple greeting and verbose greeting classes which implement same iGreeting interface. Okay, and the letter has a reference to the former. So basically, this is the proxy, and this is the real subject. Okay, all right. That is the homework. Let me